Hey everybody, you are at the Cliff Yates channel. Thanks for stopping in. I'm always appreciating you sitting down here and talking with me. Maybe you're standing up, I don't know. But hey, today we're talking about the first 100 days of the presidency of Donald J. Trump. And we're talking of 2024, not 2016. We're talking the current 100 days. Seems to be a big deal. Everybody's making comments, and why not you and I? If you have any questions or comments, hey, put them in the chat, and I will address them, maybe, if they're not too vehemently hatred-filled. But I expect that they're going to be fantastic. I'm actually going to make this commentary go along with my theme, the theme of my channel, right? Positivity, motivation, inspiration, personal growth. How can we do that? Because I actually saw Tony Robbins making a comment, kind of a political comment on what's going on in today and how he was feeling. He said, I'm feeling actually mad because people have been made to feel afraid or not made, right? We can't give up that power. You have to do that voluntarily. You can't be made to feel afraid, but people have been compelled to be afraid, starting with COVID. Don't go outside your house. You're going to die. You're going to be killed. Make sure you get this vaccine. All this crazy stuff. So we are going to go forward with courage. We're going to be courageous and not be afraid. Today we're going to follow the Bible. Many times it says in the good book, do not be afraid, be of good courage. And that's what we're going to do tonight. Even though I'm kind of going outside the realm of my normal theme of my channel, stepping into a little bit commentary on the political aspects of what's going on in our American culture today. But why not? Maybe it'll gin up some comments here, and if they do, I will address them. But it's always good to go live. It's just like walking a tight wire. You never know what's going to happen. But if you're watching on the replay, and if you're watching live, hey, subscribe to the channel. Be part of this community of progress. That's what we are, always trying to get better every day in every way, and we can do that. 100 days of the presidency of Donald J. Trump. I know why I voted for him. Why did we vote for him? We wanted him to do certain things. He ran on certain policies and or platforms. He said, this is what I'm going to do if you elect me. One thing he said was, I'm going to close the border. There was 10,000 people a day coming across that border under the Biden administration, over 12 million people over 4 years. Not all, many of which were criminals, mentally ill people from all over the globe that were just pouring in over that border, strapping our resources, and in some cases they're bringing fentanyl. We had over 100,000 people a year dying of overdose from this fentanyl crisis. Still going on today, but I believe cut down by quite a bit. Many reports now, right? Promises made, promises kept. The border is pretty much 98%, they say, shut down. 98+%. Now, that's pretty amazing in the first 100 days. That was the promise, going to shut down the border. It's pretty much done, and as a matter of fact, it's by numerous reports. And so it's just not rhetoric. It is people documenting the fact the border is shut down. And why was that such a big issue, right? Because we had people that we knew that were being stopped at the border. They were being identified as known criminals, and they were, oh, hey, how are you? Dungeon and Dragons. See how I pronounce that? Thanks for checking in. I'm glad you're here. Anybody here checking in. So, always appreciate you. Fantastic. But we had people documented that were coming into the country, right? They were stopped, identified as known criminals from their maybe country of origin. They were let go into our country, then stopped later in another state. And I'm thinking New York. You know where I'm going with this. Then they were later released only to murder. They murdered Laken Riley on the campus, Georgia University. Wonderful nursing student, murdered by this person who should not even have been here. But that's only one in numerous examples of where that occurred. So obviously, the border needed to be shut down. And so that has pretty much been done. What else did we vote for Trump for? Because we wanted to get back to some common sense, right? No more women in competing in women's sports. No more men competing in women's sports. Biological men competing in women's sports. Crazy, crazy. And now, stopped. And that's what we elected President Trump to do. Listen, day one, we're back to 2 genders already. Yay! That even feels better, right? And now we have, we're concentrating on meritocracy. We want people to come into the military, and we want to be. It's a lethal war machine. Our military. We need people battle ready, based on meritocracy, giving them jobs based on the merit of their abilities, not on the basis of the color of their skin or ethnicity or how they identify. We want them to identify as efficient warriors for the battlefield, regardless of race, color, creed, gender. And so we're doing that now, and we're getting it done. That's why we elected President Trump. Law and order, right? Support the police. I'm sorry, but 35 years in law enforcement, upstate New York to Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. I'm pointing from north to west in my head. So, of course, I'm for back the blue. I'm backing the police because I was an officer for 35 years. Happily so. And so, obviously, I would not be for the defunding of the police. And if we have a pro-police president, of course, I'm going to be backing that all the way. And we're talking about what Tony Robbins said about fear. Hey, I'm having the courage just to come forward with my opinion. And, sometimes I wrestle with expressing my opinion. Let's take advantage of our rights to freedom of speech. That doesn't mean we're going to put out hate speech, but we can say this is what we believe and this is why we believe it. And so as much as we have been, unfriended, attacked, because we went to the first inauguration for President Trump, but Alba and I started watching President Trump on The Apprentice back in 2004, where we started to like him. We said, hey, this is like a business school, on TV for us. It was just a great show. It just documented a reality show. Pro-police, I would hope so. We wouldn't want casual. I love that. That's right. We don't want casual police, man. No, we want them to be doing their job, right? Thank you for that comment. On X, I get my best comments from X. I would hope so. We would not want casual police, right? We want professional police. When I said pro-police, I'm supportive of police. But of course, we want professional police. And we can see in many cases they could be much more professional. I myself, I carry the banner for physical fitness. When you graduate from the academy, as I did, you had to meet a certain physical standard or you could not graduate. And then you graduated. And for the next 30 years, I was never tested again. And I never had to qualify for physical agility and or fitness. I don't agree with that. When you call for the police, I would expect that you want somebody who is strong, mind and body, fit, and prepared for duty. And you can see today, we have a lot of fat, out-of-shape law enforcement officers. Thank you for your service. I'm getting a lot of positivity today, and I want to thank you for that. Ram Thor, thank you very much. Always appreciate positive comments. It's not always the case, but I myself try to encourage others and be positive, but in the same realm, we can have conversations about real issues, real things that are going on. And that's what I was gonna bring that up because I wrestle with that because for my 35 years in police work, I was also doing stand-up comedy. I was also doing acting while I was in California. And so along the way, I collected friends, not enemies. I collected friends in all aspects of the cultures that I was interacting with, the police culture, the acting culture, the stand-up comedy culture. So I had friends in all these different cultures. So even today, in my neighborhood in Florida here, I have acquaintances, and just because of vehement comments that I've seen online, very hateful things putting out there, I see how, wow, did they hate everything that I say we, my wife, and I guess you would say fellow conservative, but patriotic Americans stand for because, and I can't blame them because I tell you what, a lot of them are just uninformed people. They're so nice in person. We talk and we don't talk about politics, but hey, thank you, brother. I have a relative checking in. I don't care where I get the support. I'll take it, even from my blood relatives. And family's family, right? So you got to love it. But like I was saying a second ago, before I took note of a comment here out the corner of my eye, yeah, I just, some people that I know are just, they're Democrats. They hate the president. They think if you follow him or voted for him, you must be a racist Nazi son of a bee. And of course, that's not the case. But then I see these people in person, and then we have cordial conversations. So I'm always, befuddled by this. I had to unfriend some people the other day on Facebook because just some of the hateful comments they were making, not towards me, but just in general about what was going on. Basically, they were saying, if you still support this man who's in the White House, then you are definitely a deranged fool. And then they had 60 supportive comments in that realm, and I'm thinking, I can't accept that in my circle, right, of influence. We have to control, really. It's good to be aware of what people are saying and what they're doing and what they believe and what is being said on different platforms, but we really can control our circle of influence and who's in our inner circle, who's influencing us and who we are influencing. First 100 days of President Trump, and I've got a couple of clips I'm going to go with if you want to make a comment when I go to them. But, if you listen to certain platforms, CNN, MSNBC, which I think are deep state CIA. Oh, Chris, thank you. I got another positive Chris message. Oh, thank you. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to keep in the realm of inspiration, motivation, because I get a lot of love that way. And I guess I'm going to have to keep right in there. But, we're doing something a little different today. So we'll stick with it today. But I have to keep, motivating, encouraging, and inspiring, because if I do that to somebody else, then I do it to myself. You can see the energy I have right now. I'm not even drinking and or drunk or on anything. This is me normally. Sorry, a little bit hyper today. But even though the media might have you believe things aren't going so well, actually, President Trump and his supporters are very, very happy because he's doing what he said he was going to do. There are a lot of Democrats actually voted for Trump. You know why? Because of the Democrats were actually talking about, and I brought this up on a piece of paper, right? They were talking about taxing unrealized capital. Do you know what that means? And I had to put that into AI. Is this true that Democrats were talking about taxing unrealized gains? In other words, you buy a house for $100,000 and now it's worth $400,000, and but you haven't realized that gain yet. You don't realize that unless you sell your house, and now they want to tax you on that $300,000 that's really just on paper, but they want to tax it as income. And when I put that in AI, this is what I got back, right? Yes, some Democrats have considered taxing unrealized capital gains. And that's why some Democrats says, hey, if that ever happened, we'd be screwed. Because it really does target, I guess, the people who make over $100 million. So, yes, they were considering taxing unrealized gains, particularly as part of a broader effort to raise revenue from wealthy individuals. The idea was notably included in President Joe Biden's fiscal year 2025 budget proposal, which outlined a 25% maximum tax on unrealized capital gains for individuals with a net worth exceeding $100 million, often referred to as a billionaire minimum tax. Vice President Kamala Harris, during her 2024 presidential campaign, she initially expressed support for this proposal, but later went silent on it. She probably realized this is a no-win, casting doubt on her commitment to pushing it forward. The proposal aimed to address wealthy inequality by taxing the appreciation of assets like stocks or property before they are sold. Proponents argued it would target the ultra-wealthy who accumulated significant wealth through unsold assets, which often go untaxed until they are sold. Of course, they shouldn't be taxed until they are sold. Oh, my God. It's all about redistribution of wealth. See, now they've gone to trying to separate us and divide us by class. First, it's race. get us to fight and divide on race. And then now they've gone to class. Hey, look at these wealthy bastards. We need to target them now. Listen, we're in a country based on capitalism where you and I both, we could have, who knows what's going to happen. We can start a business and we can have great gains overnight, or we work hard and work hard and work hard, and all of a sudden we're in that tax bracket, and that's us. So instead of trickling down that money through hiring people, paying them good benefits, expanding, tithing to our local church, 10% of our great wealth, no, we're going to pay taxes on unrealized gains, negative. And so that's why some Democrats actually voted for President Trump, because they said, we're not going to have this craziness. There is no way. Let's go. I have a clip from Victor Davis Hanson, if you know who he is. And he was commenting on the first 100 days. And listen, he says it better than I do. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I got some of my subscribers here on YouTube, and I got some commenters on X. And so glad to have you here, obviously. Please pipe in with a comment. I'll show your comment. I will acknowledge you, because it's all about respect-based leadership here on the Cliff Yates Show. Let's go to this clip that I have.
They don't believe how toxic this is.
And I'm going to mute that for a second until I get to the clip that I want. All right, here he is, Victor Davis Hanson.
Proverbial 100 days are on the horizon of a...
Let's go ahead. We already talked about this.
No comprehensive. We're continuing fracking. We're producing so much energy that the price of oil has gone. At one point in the Biden administration, was $120 a barrel. It's down to almost 60. And by the way, he's not draining the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and he won't do that before a midterm. If anything, he will begin filling it again pretty soon.
Remember last time he filled the petroleum reserve to the brim in his last presidency, and then Biden came in, flushed all that gas out to get lower prices for the midterms. But Trump's going to fill that back up again.
On the DEI front, he didn't have to get into DEI. That's the third rail. He just said it's over with because it violates the recent Supreme Court ruling that found that Harvard and the University of North Carolina were culpable for racist practices against Asian American applicants.
Isn't that great to have DEI dead? Unbelievable that companies, I forgot which airline said, our goal is by 2020 whatever to have 60% African American pilots. How about just hire the best damn pilots you can? Whoever's the best candidate, regardless of race, color, and or creed. Get programs and create more black pirates, black pilots, and black pirates too. We can always use more black pirates. But I think there's been some discriminatory practices in the piracy. But pilots, get the best damn pilots. Man, when I get on that plane, I want the best damn pilot you can have. I don't care if they're green. If they're the best pilot to get me to my destination, that's the way I want it. Meritocracy, right? Martin Luther King wanted a country where people were judged on the basis of their character and not on the color of their skin. DEI did away with that, and now we have Supreme Court decision against Harvard and South Carolina University for a case brought about for the Asian American applicants who were being discriminated against because of their DEI programs.
The law is on Donald Trump's side. The court decisions are on Donald Trump's side. And now DEI is being purged from government auspices and private corporations. Everybody says, well, I'm Rip Van Winkle. I woke up. What were we doing? We were doing exactly the opposite of what Martin Luther King. We were judging people by the color of their skin, by their superficial appearance, not the content.
That's right. We're waking up, everybody. We're not woke. Woke is a joke and it's dead. No, we're awakening to what's going on in the world. Why? Because of channels like this, you and me, but basically independent media people, right? Because the propaganda machine is in full swing out there, and now they don't know what to do with these independent channels who are spreading information, right? They're sharing information. You've seen those videos where it shows where the talking points have been put out to all of these media outlets to say the exact same thing and repeat the same word over and over again. You've seen where they put all these videos together and they're all repeating the same thing. The presidency is in chaos, chaos. And then now everybody says chaos for 48 hours and you hear it 1,800 times. But independent media is the king now. Freedom of speech, that's the king of information. People are going to other sources for their news and information, and that's allowing us to share what we know, how we knew it, and we can delve deep into what are the sources where you got your information. Let me show you where I got mine, and we can sift through what's going on and come to the truth.
Of their character. That is a revolution. And then suddenly everybody said he wiped out the stock market because he insisted on not just free trade, but fair trade. And he said he was going to sanction China, and he did. Now all of a sudden we have 70 countries trying to negotiate. And as I'm speaking, nations such as Italy or Japan want to make a deal. What is a deal? A deal is they're not going to run up surpluses at the same extent. We have a $1.1 trillion trade deficit. Donald Trump is going to get in the next few weeks a few major nations, and once he does, to make a deal, all the others will not want to be without a chair when the music stops. They will want to follow. When they follow, China will be eager to negotiate because its efforts to get Europe on its side have failed. If you look very quickly abroad, Donald Trump is still trying to find peace, and no, he's not.
Man, he is trying to find peace, which in the 60s and 70s, the liberals were all about peace. The peace. They didn't want war. And now all of a sudden, what's the flip where they want this military industrial complex? They're into this war machine. We got to be constantly at war. And they're lining their pockets because of their investments in all these ammunition producing companies. Crazy. Trump does not want war. That's why he is the enemy to these people, because they need to have that war machine going for the money train to keep going. We want peace. We just don't. We all die. Tragically, we die. We don't live forever in the physical world, at least. And if we're saved by God and Jesus Christ, then of course we're going to go on to another realm. But then this physical world, we're going to die. Do we want to send our young people over to these meaningless wars? Then we're finding out more and more how many times they are meaningless, or they're over oil or some other thing that we really don't want to really give up our children for, right?
Not Putin's puppet. He's been very tough on Putin. He suggests he would have a secondary oil boycott on nations that bought Russian oil. It's something Biden never imagined. But he is getting frustrated by both sides, and he's putting renewed pressure. In the Middle East, Iran is at its weakest point. Israel's ready to take out the nuclear facilities to the extent it cannot without sophisticated heavy bombers. And Donald Trump is not looking for an optional war. He's telling the Iranians, time is running out, settle, dismantle your nuclear facilities or else. The Red Sea is open for navigation. The Houthis are in retreat. There is nobody in the United States who wants to negotiate with Hamas or Hezbollah. It's an entirely new game. China is very worried that its companies are going to be delisted that are fraudulent from the stock market in the United States.
Wow. So good things going on. The Houthis are pretty much put down. The Red Sea is open. Now we have navigation going on again, free navigation. This energy thing now, remember that we were going to come up again. That's another reason why Democrats voted for President Trump, because there was going to be that electric car mandate that's going to kill us. And now we're going to be free to buy or not buy an electric vehicle, and we can buy our own damn gas guzzler if we want to. And so gas has gone, what? It was $100, $120 a barrel at one time under Biden. Now it's down near $60. Crime and public safety. I mean, we're getting that back. Everything is going good, everybody. We got some great things going on here. I got another video clip here. Let's go to Tom Homan. Tom Homan recently, I didn't even know about this issue. How about my friends in the chat here who are from where I was from in upstate New York, Rochester, New York? Pipe in on this if you heard this story where federal officials, I believe ICE agents, were asking for immediate assistance and the Rochester police came to their aid and they were disciplined for going to help them. Tom Homan was asked about this at the White House. I think I have the clip here. Let's give it a shot.
We'll go to the back room.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yes.
For Mr. Holman, I'm Taylor with Spectrum News. We have a station up in Rochester, New York. It was reported you're visiting there tomorrow. Can you talk a bit about the purpose of your trip? I know the Trump administration is suing the city over its sanctuary city policies, how the executive order Caroline alluded to ties into it, and what your message is for communities and community leaders who say, we're able to establish our own rules here. We're worried about this input from the federal level. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, same thing I talked about earlier. I don't think any elected mayor, any elected governor should want public safety threats, those illegally in the United States, public safety threats, walking through the community. And what happened in Rochester, HSI agent called for emergency assistance. Officers of Rochester PD responded to a call from emergency assistance from a federal law enforcement officer. They responded. Then they got disciplined.
HSI, Homeland Security, federal officer asked for emergency assistance. RPD responds for the call for help. A fellow law enforcement officer, I need help. And they go to help and they get disciplined for going to help. I didn't know until recently that Rochester, I guess, is a sanctuary city and that the police department is quite liberal. I have a friend, his son is in the RPD, and apparently they're doing a great job and they're very energized to do the best job they can. I can't imagine. Maybe it's the leadership at the Rochester Police who is going to discipline them for helping. I don't even know how a sanctuary city can exist. Although it actually existed in LA where I worked for the LA Sheriff's Department. I used to marvel at how come we come across people we know they're illegal, but we're not allowed to even ask their status or check their status when we arrested them. But that was the policy. But yet there would be circumstances where the California Highway Patrol would be chasing somebody all the way from San Diego with a carload of illegals, and then they would jump out of the car and they'd run and we'd chase. And then in that circumstance, we would round them up and arrest them. But on a traditional arrest, we were not allowed to ask or check the status, and it just was never done. Sandra Quackenbush, how are you? Thanks for checking in, my fellow Caledonian from my hometown. Got your response up here. Sandra, yeah, the governor. Well, I was for, who I wanted as governor? Now, of course, Caledonia and upstate New York are actually mostly, the New York State, upstate is mostly red. Elise Stefanik is from upstate where our summer place is in the Thousand Islands, and she represents that district up there near Watertown, New York. And that is very red up there. Most of upstate New York is red, and they really don't like that most of their taxes go for paying for all the programs in New York City. And it's New York City and Albany that is really, really, but Hochul, no, man, they are really, I'm going to address that in a second. I got to say something about the mayor. Let me take note of that. I'm going to finish with Tom Homan here.
I don't think anybody can come up with one instance where an ICE agent, a Border Patrol agent, didn't respond to an emergency call from assistance from any law enforcement agency. Cops need to help cops, especially in an emergency situation. But they got disciplined. And I met those officers down in Nashville soon after that. I think it was a couple of days after it. And I told them I stand with them. They did the right thing. Law enforcement responding to emergency assistance from law enforcement. So I'm going up there to support the men and women law enforcement, the men and women who carry that badge and gun every day. They're working the streets at 2 a.m. while we're all sleeping. I'm going to give my support, and they just announced a lawsuit.
Oh, I got another comment. I'm going to have to look into this. Mayor Malik Evans, that's why. Good to know. I am going to check in it because, you know, I grew up in Caledonia, New York. I have a great friend who retired from the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, which encompasses Rochester, New York, and his son works for the RPD. I got to look into the Malik Evans, I think. Oh, yeah, I know God, his name came up during the stolen car evolution up there in New York. But, yeah, Hochul as governor, man. I'll tell you who I wanted as governor was, oh, my God, I can't think of his name, but he's in the Trump cabinet now, which I'm very happy with the whole cabinet. And so I'm going to tell you, I know his name because I actually got it here, or I had it here. Isn't that crazy that I don't see it now? Oh, I know. Lee Zeldin, that's who I wanted. Lee Zeldin for governor. That's who I wanted. Yeah, and then we got Hochul, who was trying to take away the Second Amendment for the state of New York, so you cannot carry a weapon. And boy, is that true. You know, I'm so used to free Florida down here where everybody carries. I'm a retired police officer. I can carry my weapon, but I don't normally carry it. But now I'm on the safety team here at the local church, and they encourage me, no, we have armed positions, and we want you to be armed in your safety position. So, okay. So I carry here in Florida, free Florida, as I like to call it. But when I'm at the summer place in New York, I do a little target shooting on my private island. And I went to buy some ammo, and I didn't have my concealed CCW permit with me. And so they wouldn't sell me any ammunition. And now my good friend from Florida here, who has a house in Fairport, New York, outside of Rochester, and he just was looking forward to duck hunting with his son this past fall. So he took his hunter safety course. He gets up to Rochester and he goes to Dick's Sporting Goods, and he is going to buy his shotgun ammo, just shotgun ammo. And it took him like an hour and a half because the lady says, well, I have to enter each shell into the system from the box that you're buying. And once that's in the system, then you have to wait 24 hours and come back and pick these up. And so he had to come back 24 hours later to pick up his shotgun ammunition. And then the lady couldn't find the box. And my buddy said, it's okay, just give me another box. He goes, no, it has to be the exact box that I entered into the computer, each shell. And so he was there like another hour. And so he was figuring out Dick's Sporting Goods and other places that carry ammunition are not going to pay an employee for 2 hours of entering each shell from a box into a computer system. So in essence, they're going to discourage places from selling ammo. So if they can't stop people from selling firearms to people and people buying them, they can certainly, apparently, stop them from being able to find ammunition. And they're going to stop businesses from selling it. So that seems to be the new philosophy and try to get around taking your gun away. We'll just take the ammunition away. But I'm going to look into the mayor. That's good to know, just because I want to be aware of what's going on. So I have one more clip about Donald Trump's first 100 days in office, everybody. And a lot of us are happy. And I notice online, because I check social media, and a lot of people are so blinded by their hatred. They cannot even see straight. Some people find out my proclivity and where I lean right and who I voted for, and they can't smash the unfriend button fast enough. But that's all right, everybody. We are a free speech country still, and we are going to exercise that, especially right here on the Cliff Yates Show. So one more clip I want to look at.
Huge news. You can get a son of...
And it's about Donald Trump's first 100 days. I think this might be from... Oh, this is ABC. I thought it was from the BBC, but no, it is from ABC. And they kind of gave a good breakdown as to what the president has accomplished in the first 100 days.
Hours after being sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, Donald Trump signed nearly 24 executive orders, more day one actions than any other president.
More
in
day
history.
one action. He was on it
Trump
day
was the
one.
to sign more than 100 executive orders in his first 100 days in office, surpassing the number of the past 5 presidential administrations combined.
Oh, and here we have Elon Musk. Now, my wife read a book by Elon Musk, and she loves Elon Musk. And I'm telling you, he is sending up rockets. I mean, his pace is at least 1 to 2 a week, sending up these Starlink satellites. And last night, if you haven't seen it, I put it on my social media. I ran out to see this beautiful Falcon 9 launch. And from our balcony, we see all the launches. So believe me, he's on pace to do at least 1 to 2 launches a week just from Cape Canaveral. And then he does some from Texas, California, and there's another base somewhere else. And then we have the regular NASA launches also to go up. In many cases, of course, they get canceled or postponed, but I'm telling you, SpaceX is pretty much right on the money. When they say they're going to launch, they launch. We love Elon Musk, but some people hate Elon Musk. It's funny, we had one of our neighbors here posting a video of one of the launches. Oh, we're out here seeing this great launch. And so my wife made a comment, yes, Elon is so great. And then all of a sudden, these negative comments from the same people who just took a video of the launch. Oh, this guy's not even a U.S. citizen. These people are uninformed. Not even a U.S. citizen. Believe me, you can't imagine. He can't even hire people to... He's launching rockets into space. He has the government so far up his ass on regulation. Believe me, he cannot hire people who are not citizens that don't have to. They have to have the strictest of security clearance. Not just himself, not even a citizen. For God's sakes, people, become informed, be engaged and informed. Look at the energy here, and look at Doge. Doge even has Doge.gov. You can see exactly what they're doing. They're very transparent, saving us, you and I, billions of dollars. Yes, we give a damn where our tax money goes, and we're going to make darn sure that somebody is acting on our behalf, because that's why we elect these people.
Many of Trump's executive orders have focused on the Elon Musk-run Department of Government Efficiency, responsible for slashing agencies' budgets and tens of thousands of federal employees across the country.
If we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt.
More than 100,000 federal employees' jobs have been affected or impacted so far. In all, Doge claims they saved $160 billion across the federal government, including through mass layoffs. But there's no public disclosure that shows the entirety of Doge's cost-cutting measures. Trump has also signed multiple immigration-related executive orders, putting the administration's crackdown on border security front and center.
These people came in, they're not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country illegally. We have to get them out.
The White House.
Exactly my sentiment. Exactly. Someone was talking today. Well, the crime rate for illegal immigrants is lower than that of the U.S. citizens, and that is not the case. The crime rate for illegal immigrants is 100%. 100% crime rate. They committed a crime to get here. They're already criminals. And so we need to get them out, and that is due process. Out. You got to come in the right way. And believe me, no one wants that more than me and my wife, who was born in Cuba, immigrated here with her family, and they are U.S. citizens. Proudly so. They love America. They want to keep America great as it is. This is the greatest country in the world. Everybody, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining me in this commentary on the first 100 days of the presidency of Donald J. Trump. I'm happy the way things are going. I wanted the border shut. I want the illegals deported. And I'm glad we're back to 2 genders. I do not want biological men in sports. And you're going to see some big changes, specifically with universities and with all the money that comes from foreign terrorist groups into these universities. You're going to see some, they're going to have to be getting rid of their anti-Semitism and some of the crazy stuff these universities are doing, or they're not going to get federal aid. President Trump will cut that off, and I would gladly support that. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on X. That's a free speech platform. And thank you for everybody on X who made the comments, interacted. Thanks for my friends and family on YouTube. And hey, if you haven't already, join the culture of progress on my channel on YouTube, everybody. Bring the positive energy no matter what, because this is the greatest country with the greatest opportunity. You and I are part of it. We can fog up a mirror. We're still in the game, everybody. All right. See you at the next episode.